What are the best ways of influencing other people? I did a book on advocacy a couple years ago. Highly recommend. My wife claims it's a cure for insomnia, but I think it's actually a good book. We identified a lot of different techniques that help people be more influential in the workplace. Let me suggest two things that come across every time I work with influential people. One is this: answer the why now question. Anytime you're presenting any idea, you need to give an answer to why we should adopt your idea right now. Why can't we wait 3 more years? Why didn't we do it 2 years ago? For any important decision you make, there is a why now. If you're married, there's a why now when you got married. There was a particular date you chose, a particular year you chose. There was a why now for it. Could have been somebody who's getting old, the availability of a venue. There was a why now. If you've ever switched jobs, there's a why now. You could have stayed another year, but you decided to move. You could have left a year before, but you decided to move. There's always a why now. For you folks in the energy industry, it used to be called the burning platform question. Why should we do something right now? Now, oftentimes, you remember your 101 marketing class you took many years ago, something called a SWOT analysis helps you do this. Strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats are all potential why nows. The one we discovered in terms of influence and advocacy that matters most of those 4 is threats. That's what gets people's attention more than anything else. What are some threats? For example, global competition is a threat for many companies. Changing customer needs and tastes is another threat. What's another thing? Some product or service is getting worn out or getting old. Supply chain issues can be a threat. I teach the crisis management course at the LBJ school. Interesting statistic. 60% of the crises these companies faced are caused by their suppliers. If you choose the wrong vendor, there's a huge why now, isn't there? A second thing you might want to answer when you want to be influential is the WIFIT question. WIFIT stands for what's in it for them. Not what's in it for me, but what's in it for them. You've got to be able to show each person's decision maker there's something in it for them. People don't do things unless there's something in it for them over a period of time, either good or bad. So what do we know about WIFITs? 3 observations. Number 1, your WIFIT won't be their WIFIT. When you were a child, you perhaps liked Skittles. Thus, what did you buy your mother for her birthday? Of course you bought Skittles. Who's reached the point of recognizing maybe your mom doesn't like Skittles? My mother, 97 years old, likes this odd thing called Turkish Delights sometimes. So I have to buy her a box of Turkish Delights, and guess what? Give it to her, even though I don't like them myself. I've got to figure out what the other person likes, not what I like. Secondly, any person in a room will have a different WIFIT than another person in the room. If I'm trying to persuade 5 people at a meeting, I've got to recognize each person may have a very different WIFIT. The root word of customer is not cuss, it's custom. So your challenge is to figure out each person's WIFIT individually and address each of those personally, which leads to the third observation. If you really want to be influential in a meeting, what you've got to do is you've got to talk to people one-on-one before the meeting. Indeed, your goal is to make sure you talk to people so well one-on-one, there's no need for a meeting by the time you get done. One-on-one selling always works better than meeting selling does. Why? 3 reasons. Number 1, in one-on-one selling, people don't know how much they care about most issues. In truth, in most meetings, most people don't care about things until they get to the meeting. I'm going to a meeting next Tuesday. I really don't care about the agenda. I get there, I get highly involved in something I didn't care about ahead of time, screw up someone's life for the next 2 years, and I leave and don't care again. In one-on-one meetings, people don't care about many issues. So they'll say, fine, I don't care. Secondly, people hate to change their mind publicly. They don't mind changing their mind privately. So in one-on-one, somebody's more willing to say, okay, you convinced me. But in a meeting, I publicly said I don't agree with this. It's hard for me to switch and say, okay, you've convinced me now. Third thing is perhaps the most interesting, though. People in public can never do something for personal reasons. They can only do it for public reasons, objective reasons, if that makes sense. So I've known you for 15 years. We've been good friends for all that time, all right? What happens? You raise an issue. I can never in a public meeting say, I don't really care that much, but because I like you, because we've known each other for many years, I'll go along with this. I can never say that publicly. Privately, I can easily say that to people, can't I?